the main idea behind SmoothIT is basically to allow providers, especially ISPs as well as overlay providers, to smooth the traffic in a way that either the ISP as well as the customer can benefit from a sort of very steady stream flow of data, and the sort of overload situations can be diminished. There used to be two projects called M3I and MMAPS. Those were addressing economically driven traffic management approaches, and they've purely focused on the economic issue. And then we recognized that is a very nice approach, but we need the technical mechanism to be implemented within a network. And so we had the idea, okay, we have that technology in place and the idea in place, we could define basically the right technical mechanisms and define the right incentives. And so that's sort of the reason why we're sitting here. The idea is that we look at the expertise to get the partners included which show the right expertise, experience. And that's the reason why we included, for instance, the SME, PrimeTel here in Cyprus. They have the knowledge of an ISP, innovative basically ISP, who is willing to support new ideas. And so we decided to have them, including the Greek people out of Athens, for instance, as well as Swiss, German, Polish, and Spanish partners. We do see, of course, lots of work going on in the so-called overlay network research at this time. Overlay networks basically came up, I would say, 15 years ago. And they sort of were considered as a disruptive idea to ISP's networks, since the user suddenly was able to determine where traffic goes to, where traffic comes from, and that was not under control of the ISP anymore. And so in that respect, the sort of innovation basically is really addressing that specific situation, and we would like to see all the partners basically supporting that specific approach in SmoothIT. The problem, though, is that we have to define in which way the other projects existing differ from us. And we just had a discussion this morning already. We are clearly identifying incentives, technical mechanisms, protocols, as well as their sort of implementation chances and options, and would like to implement them in a given ISP's network. And so this clear focus makes us unique compared to the other approaches, which are much broader. There is measurements around these days which show basically that 60 to 80% of the traffic is overlay traffic, which is traditionally called peer-to-peer traffic. If you take those numbers and you see that they're only remaining 20 to 40%, then there is a clear need to make this traffic much smoother, especially allowing the ISP as well as the overlay network provider or overlay application provider as well as the user to be in a win-win-win situation, which we call triple win situation. So every single player in that game shall be able to accommodate their specific needs, either on being able to achieve the quality of service of the data stream coming in. So you would like to watch the video and the quality you're expecting it. You would like to listen to the radio audio stream, you're expecting it. On the other hand, the ISP is still needing to carry traffic which comes out of other business, and those have to sort of be combined in the same environment. And finally, of course, the application provider who would like to see many of their applications being run on the network simultaneously. And so having those three together would be a very beneficial situation. Overlay applications, they're around, I would say, something like 30, 40, 50, depending on how you count. For instance, take the BitTorrent example. BitTorrent is an overlay application where you have on your computer basically a client installed, which can then make contact to many other clients sitting anywhere in the world, on a laptop, on a PDA, on a desktop computer. It doesn't really matter. And if you start contacting those clients directly, you have multiple point-to-point connections. If you look at them at a certain point of time, you have an arbitrary topology basically in place. And this arbitrary topology is really the concern of ISP, since you are not able to control where this traffic is flowing to, where it's coming from, and which bandwidth, which pipe size basically you need to see. And so this is the sort of dramatic change. And if you take those measurements which I've mentioned beforehand, and those 60 to 80% of overlay network traffic, about at least 1/5 of that is only behaving correctly in the sense that they can be managed by traditional traffic management mechanisms. The other ones are just packets, bits being transferred, and no ISP has any chance to sort of take a look at that. In addition to that, there's this network neutrality issue, especially debated in the States these days, where you need to understand that an ISP shall not limit certain traffic from certain people, since network itself shall be open to the public. And if an ISP starts maintaining specific traffic under a very specific regime, then it's not neutral anymore, since the ISP has the ability to sort of prioritize traffic. And that should be, of course, circumvented. And in our SmoothIT basically ideas, we try to give a solution which allows network neutrality on one hand and at the same time traffic management principles which are applicable.